Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is the 9th day of July, and this is the year of our Lord 2021. And on this report, I will be talking about the U.S. military and its leadership, specifically the teaching or indoctrination of the troops and the future officer corps now at the academies, with the doctrine of critical race theory, which I argue will be a disaster for military readiness. The Castle family had a wonderful 4th of July this past weekend. We enjoyed the spring-like weather and the Sunday afternoon cookout, but sitting on our deck in the cool of the evening watching fireworks in the distance was the best. I think the family daughter went to her own cookout with some friends out in the City of Angels, so everyone enjoyed themselves and everyone is healthy, virus-free as far as we know. Each of the military branches has a chief of staff or a commander. The Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps together make up the Joint Chiefs. One of them is nominated by the President to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He is, in effect, the chief military officer in the nation. President Trump nominated Army General Mark Milley for chairman. He currently serves in that position. General Milley has impeccable credentials for the job, both academic and military. Just in a brief inventory, he now holds a degree from Princeton in politics, a master's from Columbia in international relations, a master's from the Naval War College, and he is a graduate of an MIT International Studies program. That is just his education. He served in the 82nd Airborne, the 5th Special Forces Group, the 7th Infantry Division, and the 10th Mountain Division, among others. He holds the Combat Infantryman Badge, and many other awards too numerous to mention. He is deployed to the various war zones this country has fought since the beginning of his 31-year career. Due to his 31 years of honorable service and his record, I can still call him my brother in arms. It appears to me, however, that because of his testimony before the House Armed Services Committee last month regarding his order to teach critical race theory to the troops and at the military academies, he is, in fact, a bootlicking lackey of the ruling elite. His history of infantry combat and in various command positions in some of the nation's most elite military units makes his offense much worse because he obviously knows better. That renders him unworthy of the troops he commands. In other words, when he insists that critical race theory be taught to the military, he knows he will be destroying unit cohesion. He knows the respect one soldier has for another will be gone. He knows they depend on each other for their very lives in battle. CRT, or critical race theory, holds that there is an inborn DNA makeup in white people that makes them racist by birth. They should therefore feel ashamed to be white, to see no good in themselves. They should not take any pride in the accomplishments of the West. With all its racist white privilege, the approach logically will divide and foster animosity and mistrust. The mission of the military is far simpler than any theory on race can explain, folks. I don't have to tell you that, but I don't have 31 years of service, as does the general, but I have served as a military officer. I know the bottom line is that our young men and women have to kill their young men and women at a much faster rate than they can kill our young men and women. We have to do that if we are to prevail. We can apply the incredible technology advantages we have over most enemies today as a force multiplier, but ultimately we still must have people willing and able to confront the enemy on the ground and put him to death. I doubt very seriously if many soldiers in combat are worried about whether there are an appropriate number of black soldiers in the fighting holes next to them. I know the general understands these things. That makes what he's doing much worse. Let's look now at the general's testimony recently given before Congress. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs Mark Milley went before the Armed Services Committee to give an explanation about the purpose of a recent seminar entitled, quote, Understanding Whiteness and White Rage, end quote, held at the U.S. Military Academy in West Point. The secretary managed to use the rope-a-dope tactic until the questioner's time ran out. But then it was General Milley's turn. He made no attempt at rope-a-dope, no attempt at an evasive answer, as did the secretary. I will give you just a small part of the general's testimony. Quote, first of all, on the issue of critical race theory, etc., I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever that theory is, but I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and to be widely read, and the U.S. Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train, that we understand, and I want to understand white rage. I'm white. I want to understand it. So what is it that causes thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here. I do want to analyze it. End quote. I will pause the general's statement for a moment to answer his questions so far. General, if you had just taken a moment to call me, I could have explained it all to you. Then you could have gone back to your duty teaching young people to kill other young people instead of teaching them to hate themselves and to hate each other. First, you say you want to know, you want answers to your questions about white rage. Well, why don't you start by accurately stating the number instead of exaggerating, as is the woke tradition. Even the very woke CNN says hundreds, not thousands. Second, why they did it was because they were set up, provided with the means, egged on, provoked by agents of the FBI and your own Army counterintelligence. These agent provocateurs went so far as to rehearse their false flag attack 3 months earlier in Michigan in an FBI scheme known colloquially as the Whitmer kidnap plot. In effect, General, they didn't do it. They didn't do what you accused them of. I hope that explains a little bit of it, General, but there's more. None of the people wanted to, as you put it, overthrow the Constitution of the United States. Instead, they demanded that it be enforced. Those people believed that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. They were thus cheated out of the Democrat process by the Democrat politicians, most of whom know what happened, but are such moral degenerates that they think they are so superior, cheating is their right. The audits in Arizona and Georgia, among other states, give credence to those beliefs. Without integrity of voting, the democratic process means nothing. We might as well live in the old Soviet Union again. That should be plenty to provoke white rage, General, but it gets worse. If Donald Trump did nothing else that was useful, he showed us exactly what the media of today is. The media cannot be trusted. It's basically just a mouthpiece for the opinions of the corrupt ruling elite. Mr. Trump really exposed the corruption of the entire ruling elite so that the American people know they cannot be trusted. Our military leadership spends its time tracking down, rooting out racists wherever they hide, instead of preparing to confront a newly aggressive China. Rage, yes, I feel it. What person who served his country would not feel it? Police deterrence has been destroyed because of a year of relentless anti-police rhetoric. And as a result, we're flooded with violent crime. The FBI, CIA, even the military can no longer be trusted. I imagine our enemies cannot believe their luck as we destroy ourselves by becoming number one in the world of abortion, of pornography, child sexual abuse, child sex trafficking, drugs, transgender personality disorders collectively. In so many ways, it seems that we have suddenly lost our minds. I trust that clears up a few things, General. I hope it explains some of the white rage that troubles you so much. Perhaps you will include some of my words with your next indoctrination video for the future officers of our military forces. Now, I continue with the General's testimony. Quote, I've read Mao Zedong, I've read Karl Marx, I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, with having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers of being, quote, woke or something, because we're studying some theories that are out there, end quote. Okay, General, you read a bunch of communists in order to understand communism. What did you read to understand the people in Washington on January 6th Perhaps you read the same communists, but more likely the New York Times and the Washington Post. What's wrong with understanding some theories? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with teaching CRT as long as you truthfully teach what it is. And you truthfully explain all the similarities with the woke worldview and the founding fathers of communism you so carefully read. However, General, you're too smart, too well-read, too experienced for me to accept that line. Are you really saying you don't know what CRT is, and yet you've ordered it to be taught? In short, General, most of us can recognize BS when we smell it. So show at least a modicum of respect for us, the American people. You and I both know what you're really doing is teaching young men and women to suspect, to mistrust, even to hate each other. You're destroying the trust upon which the very lives of these people depend, so you find it offensive that Congress dares to question your motives. No one is questioning the U.S. military, General. They don't question its officers or its non-coms. We question you. I question you along with the questions posed by Congress, which admittedly are pointless because nothing will ever be done. I imagine that a group of Chinese future officers are sitting around tables in their respective military academies right now studying critical race theory and white rage. No, General. No, they're not studying that at all because they're too busy studying how to destroy America, how to supplant the country you are supposed to be defending. General, Premier Xi and Premier Putin do not care about your theories. They know that this country is finally weak enough to them to supplant it despite its technology because it is headed by a dementia patient and its military is headed by people like you who care more about white rage than you do about how to kill Russians and Chinese. The two leaders had a recent conference to pledge their support for each other. We were not invited. Each of them went to great lengths to explain how they were not a threat to each other, but they are increasingly aggressive toward America. My advice to you, General, a general with 4 stars with 31 years of experience, is that if you are not going to teach war and how to fight it, retire, or at least get us out of the Black Sea, out of the South China Sea. While you're at it, get us out of Korea, Germany, Afghanistan, the rest of the Middle East. While they are on their way home, you can lecture the troops about all the white rage they will face back in white supremacist America. I'm just saying that those two nations have quite obviously lost their respect for America. It will take many years, if ever, perhaps much blood to regain it. In conclusion, General Milley, try something new. Try something new for once. Just be honest with yourself and with us. In all honesty, General, you don't really want to understand white rage, do you? You're interested in continuing to turn an honorable career, the honorable soldier you once were, into a fawning, boot-licking lackey of the corrupt ruling class who hate this country and live for its destruction. Your job is to be used by that ruling establishment as a conduit for their poisonous, vile, wicked, satanic ideology to be poured into the minds of the U.S. military. Perhaps when you retire, the woke corporations of which you profess to know nothing will line up to have the oh-so-woke former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on their boards. Bow down, General, bow down, and lick the hand that feeds you. Finally, folks, if you have a son or worse, a daughter, considering the U.S. military, please use all your influence to dissuade them. Should your child prove smart enough for one of the service academies, let him choose a more honorable career. For those on the verge of enlistment, get out. Get out while you still can. It pains me to say it, folks, but the country and its military have leaders who are anti-American. We should not contribute to their efforts at this time. At least that's the way I see it. Until next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.